Okay, so the next step, we need to create our accessories. So on this layout, there's not many, a couple of turnouts. So let's just double click on a turnout. Brings up the turnout properties. I'm just gonna shrink this window a bit. Doesn't need to be so big. Okay, so again, a name, iTrain, everything has to have a name. Call it whatever you want. Turnout point one, whatever it is. Right. You can give it a description if you want, whatever. So this defines it as a left turnout. That is what it was. Initial state. So what you can do in here is choose when it turns the system on, its state it always goes back to or starts in. So you can choose that, totally up to you. I don't ever change that. Then here it needs to know the address. So obviously your turnout point motor will be connected up to an accessory decoder or have a built-in accessory decoder. So if it's a solenoid, it would probably be connected to a accessory decoder from DCC Concepts or Train Tech or DigiKeys. It needs to know the address of the output you've connected that point motor to. So I'm just going to be original and say 1. Then down here we have some other things that you need to be aware of. So you don't detect a turnout, and the turnout is never part of the block. That's why it's not brown like the blocks are, because it's never part of the block. So in here it says length. So this is the physical length of the turnout. So you measure that because you're not detecting it in this instance. So let's just call it 22 centimeters. But everybody's got different length points, so it's obviously dependent on the length of the point you've got. So you put in the length. Speed here, this is a new thing for iTrain 5. You can choose a speed, so it's not the block changes the speed. This turnout can change the speed it goes into the block, for example. So if you're going into the station and you want it to be already slowing before it gets to the slow stop speed for that block, you can choose this. So this is your choice, and this is, in this instance, I've got it in kilometers an hour. If you had it set in miles an hour, it'd be miles an hour. I'm not going to put anything in there for now. State mapping, we'll just go to that. Now in here, when you assign the address of the point to 1, for example, and you click on the point to change it from thrown to straight, that has to match what's physically happening on the layout. If for some quirky reason the image is showing straight but it's actually thrown, you don't have to rewire the accessory decoder. Where it says output here and it says green and red, now this is a historic thing, that's why it says green and red. This is how they always used to define accessories, but obviously thrown one way, thrown the other. So if you wanted that to be inverted, if you just double click where it says green, you get a drop down list. You can change it to red and then change the other one to green. It then inverts the action and it will work correctly. So that's how you create a turnout, a basic turnout in iTrain. Okay, so I've now assigned a name and address to the other turnout. If we look on the left side here at the accessory list, we can see the first 2 accessories we've created. Now we've created those accessories, we need to make sure the connections between the blocks are correct again. So if you press the connect button, here we go, it finds all the connections. Because we've put the turnouts in now, it's looking for that full connection, and it's this 6 to update. The reason for it, next and previous in platform, so that's 2. Platform 1, platform 2, there's also 2 connections and the 2 blocks either end. So if we press OK, that will create those connections and updates that. That's how you create an accessory for a turnout. If we want to look at signals, iTrain 5 now has UK signals. They have 3 aspect with feather, 4 aspect and 4 aspect with feather. If you wanted to use a 2 aspect signal, your easiest thing to do is you could use the 3 aspect one, but if you want it to look slightly different, at the moment he hasn't done a 2 aspect one, but we can just use this 2-aspect one here, German one, or this general one. You can use the 3-aspect one, but obviously, you know, if you want it to look like 2, it's not ideal. But if you go on the forum, and I advise you all do log into the forum, and you make suggestions of you want more signals, UK signals, the more people that ask for it, the more likely that Xander will create it. So if it's a 3-aspect signal, for example, you rotate it so it's in the right direction of travel. You then go to the block, because we've already created a block and it's facing the same direction as the piece of track within the block, and we insert it, it becomes part of the block straight away. Now, obviously we drive on the left, so the signal's on the left. If you're in Europe, the signals are on the other side of the rail, as you can see here. So if we just put in a couple of signals, again, we'll double click on the image of the signal now. And again, we just need a name. So sig1. Now, accessory addresses. If it's a 3-aspect signal, it'd probably have 2 accessory addresses, okay? So you choose 2 and you give it those accessory addresses. Now, points and signals obviously use the same type of accessory address, so these can't be the same as your turnouts, okay? So we've used accessory address 1 and 2 in my example here, so I'm just going to be original and use 3 and 4. They would be the 2 addresses that set the signals, okay? So red and green is on 3. So if you switch 3 one way, it would be red. If you switched it the other way, it would be green. To switch on the amber, that would be address 4. So that's what you can see down here. If you want to map this differently to suit your purposes, you can get amber and green to come on together. So if you wanted, so in this illustration, clear is green, and it's address 3 green. If you wanted to add that to the amber, you could. So in this output box here, you could just say, I also want that to come on at the same time as amber, and the amber and the green would come on together. It all depends on how you want to run this signal. That's your choice, okay? So as long as you've given it a name and its address, it will work. That's all you have to do. And here, how you map it, this is totally up to you. So press OK. And it's created that signal. In the list, you can now see that signal. So if I do the other signal just quickly, and we go signal sig2, and again it's a 3-aspect signal in this instance, and I'll give it the addresses 5 and 6. Press OK, and it's created it. We go back into the block now, and we go to the next direction of travel, and we press autofill. It now picks up that signal automatically. So if trains were running and there was a block ahead was occupied, it would automatically be red. Once the block ahead went clear, and if the train leaving that block set a route, it would first set the signal and then drive the train on the route. As the train left the block, so the signal was green, as it left the block and entered the next block, it would then go back to red. If you had multiple signals in multiple blocks, they would go to amber ahead of them, and so on and so forth, depending on the flow of the traffic of your layout. This is how you create the signals and add them to the blocks.